So most of you already probably know by now that the media, all of them, completely lied about the Covington Catholic kid story. Most of you probably saw the 2-hour live stream or clips within it that show without a shadow of a doubt that the media lied about the Covington Catholic kids story. But why did they lie? This is a question that I'm going to answer with you today. Now, if you haven't seen the clip, there's a clip out there that shows without a shadow of a doubt that the Native American, so-called, and his group marched in, charged into the group of students, banging their drums in the face of these students. There's many clips out there that show this clearly. So the whole mainstream narrative was that these kids went up to this Native American and were just staring in his face. No, the truth of the matter is that this Native American and his group walked right into the group of kids, pretty aggressively, actually, and started banging drums in their faces, in their ears. Now, there's a couple of statements that their family released, a couple of statements that the student actually released that I'm going to go over with you today as well. But there were many threats, many threats from the so-called tolerant leftists that we like to talk about so much. Like this one from Wheeler Walker Jr., for which he did not get reprimanded by Twitter for. It says, "I know I have fans in Paris Hills, Kentucky. If you know this little shit, punch him in the nuts and send me the video of it, and I'll send you all of my albums on vinyl autographed." Or this one from Jack Morrissey, which he did not get reprimanded by Twitter for either. Hashtag MAGA kids go screaming in hats first into the wood chipper. And there's a picture that shows bloody gore all over the place, calling for direct violence against these children. Then, of course, you have Kathy Griffin and many other verified journalists online calling for direct violence against these kids. That's what they are. Kids. Now, we all know the mainstream narrative who lots of people shared and believed because they don't have an intelligent bone in their body, was that these kids walked up to this Native American, they were very disrespectful, they were staring him down, they were mocking him, they were being racist, and we know that the video shows it's the direct opposite of that. It was the Native American and his group charging right into the crowd of students, banging drums in their face, and they were being disrespectful to the kids. And now we have leftists calling for direct violence against these children. It's no surprise that the CNN Journalist of the Year from Der Spiegel was fired for fake news, because that's all CNN and the mainstream media do, is fake news. You would think that they would have learned from the whole BuzzFeed gaffe after they shared fake news all day long, and now they're being laughed at by most of America who have an intelligent bone in their body, but they didn't learn from that. They didn't learn from the Der Spiegel journalist who CNN gave an award to as Journalist of the Year, and now he was fired for fake news and fabricating every single one of his stories for the past 2 years. They didn't learn from that either. But let's go ahead and read the statement from the student and his family, and let's go ahead and show you why they lied. I'm providing this factual account of what happened Friday afternoon at the Lincoln Memorial to correct misinformation and outright lies being spread about my family and me. I am the student in the video who was confronted by the Native American protester. I arrived at Lincoln Memorial at 4:30 p.m. I was told to be there by 5:30. When our buses were due to leave Washington for the trip back to Kentucky, we had been attending the March for Life rally and then had split up into small groups to do sightseeing. When we arrived, we noticed 4 African-American protesters who were also on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. I'm not sure what they were protesting, and I did not interact with them. I did hear them direct derogatory insults at our school group. The protesters said hateful things. They called us racists, bigots, white crackers, faggots, and incest kids. They also taunted an African-American student from my school by telling him that we would harvest his organs. Now, we also have video proof of this, but I want to tell you, and I showed this to you in my video yesterday, CNN reported these 4 African-American men as just 4 stand-up African-American men preaching the Bible, when in fact, they were saying things like this.
On the back of your dollar bill, it says, in God we trust, but you give faggots rights.
And 4 African-American young men preaching about the Bible and oppression.
But you give faggots rights.
preaching about the Bible and oppression.
And as far as them calling them white crackers, faggots, incest kids, and all sorts of other things, as the statement says, the 2-hour live stream shows that pretty clearly. Now, they also talked about them harassing one of their African-American friends, saying that they would harvest his organs. And we have video proof of that, too. Here it is.
Where's our mom? Our mom? Where's Kanye West? There's that one nigga in the crowd. No! That's racist. Oh, you got 2 niggas in the crowd. Oh, 2 niggas. Look at him. When you get old enough, they're gonna steal your organs. Whoa, hey, we love you, bro. Hey, we love you, kid. Hey, we love you. Get out. Get out. Yo, nigga, get out. Get out.
It goes on. Because we were being loudly attacked and taunted in public, a student in our group asked for our teachers, chaperones, for permission to begin our school spirit chants to counter the hateful things that were being shouted at our groups. The chants are commonly used at sporting events. They are all positive in nature and sound just like what you would hear at any high school. Our chaperone gave us permission to use our school chants. We would not have done that without obtaining permission from the adults in our group. It says, at no time did I hear any other student chant anything other than these school spirit chants. Remember, the media was saying that they were chanting Build the Wall because they were believing this lying Native American. And by the way, once again, let's go ahead and just reiterate what I said in the video yesterday. When people say this is our land, this is Native land, these are Native Americans, if we actually just go to the Smithsonian or History.com or pick up any history book, you will see that the quote-unquote Native Americans came over through the Bering Land Bridge and were not native to this country. When people say things like stolen land and things like that, I always use the analogy of McGregor versus Mayweather. See, if you say that this is stolen land, you would also say that Mayweather needs to give back his stolen belt to McGregor. And Tom Brady needs to give back his stolen Super Bowl ring to Matt Ryan because those were stolen and certainly not conquered. But anyway, let's get back to the statement from the family and the student. It says, the protester, everyone has seen in the video, began playing his drum as he waded into the crowd, which parted for him. I did not see anyone try to block his path. He locked eyes with me and approached me. Coming within inches of my face, he played his drum the entire time he was in my face. I never interacted with this protester. I did not speak to him. I did not make any hand gestures or other aggressive moves. To be honest, I was startled and confused as to why he had approached me. We had already been yelled at by another group of protesters, and when the second group approached, I was worried that the situation was getting out of control, where adults were attempting to provoke teenagers, which that's exactly what was going on. And of course, we have left-wing activists on Twitter talking about punching these children in the faces, calling for direct violence against these children. And Twitter does nothing. And finally, it says, I believe that by remaining motionless and calm, I was helping to diffuse the situation. I realized everyone had cameras and that perhaps a group of adults was trying to provoke a group of teenagers into a larger conflict. I said a silent prayer that the situation would not get out of hand. And yet, we have the mainstream media like CNN, BuzzFeed, Huffington Post, The Guardian, MSNBC, NBC, everyone and their mother calling for violence against these kids and reporting literal fake news out of the mainstream media, and their low IQ viewers and readers eat it up. It goes on, during that period of the drumming, a member of the protesters' entourage, which charged into the group of kids, began yelling at a fellow student that we stole our land and that we should go back to Europe. I heard one of my fellow students begin to respond. I motioned to my classmate and tried to get him to stop engaging with the protester, as I was still in the mindset that we needed to calm down tensions. And this is obviously true. Anyway, there's much more to the statement. Link in the description if you want to read the entire student statement. But let's get to why the media lied. Well, the reason why the media lied is the same reason why the media jumped on the Jasmine Barnes story. Because they first thought that it was a white man who attacked Jasmine Barnes, when it turns out that it was actually 2 black men who attacked and shot and killed 7-year-old Jasmine Barnes. It's also the same reason why you only saw 1 or 2 articles about the man who said, "I want to kill all white people," and then proceeded to kill 6 white people, and the media didn't cover it. It's also the same reason why the media didn't say anything about the quote-unquote black Israelites, and CNN talked about them being 4 stand-up young black gentlemen in their article and in their news segment.
And 4 African-American young men preaching about the Bible and oppression.
It's because it doesn't fit their racial narrative. See, the media's been doing this forever. The media's been doing this for the past 2 years, more specifically. We saw Don Lemon and CNN pretty much the direct instigators of the man that began to snipe down 5 Dallas police officers and kill them. Blood is literally on the hands of Don Lemon in that one. We also saw Barack Obama go to the funeral of these 5 dead police officers in Dallas and say that the police are the ones to blame.
Centuries of racial discrimination, of slavery and subjugation and Jim Crow. So that maybe the police officer sees his own son in that teenager with a hoodie. None of us is entirely innocent. No institution is entirely immune. And that includes our police departments.
All of that because the media refuses to give you the real facts about people who die at the hands of police officers in this country, and that white people die at a double rate than black people at the hands of police in quantity. And any overrepresentation can be easily explained by the crime rate in this country by ethnic category. The police run-ins by ethnic category in this country would easily explain any overrepresentation in that regard. But will the media actually give you these statistics? Will the media actually give you these facts? No, they will not. And you saw what happened when they thought that it was a white man who shot down Jasmine Barnes. You saw the protests and riots in the streets. But you would never hear anything about that if it was just a black man killing a black man, or a black man killing a white man, or whatever the case may be. The interracial violent crime in this country, we know, is weighted to only one side. But of course, we don't mention these things. But the media would rather play on the heartstrings of the dumb people in this country. The media would rather play on the emotions of the overly emotional in this country. And the media would rather attack white men, straight white men, in particular. And this is the reason why they attacked and lied about the Covington Catholic kids. And as a matter of fact, and I reviewed the first chapter of this book on this channel, I don't think that there's really any further reason to review the rest of this book. You guys can read it for yourself. This is by a left-wing professor, and this book is called White Shift. You can go ahead and pick it up on Amazon. I believe it's on Amazon or some other place that you can purchase this online. And this explains in detail exactly why there is so much vitriol, why there is so much division in this country. It explains it pretty much in depth, and you will understand. Your eyes will be open. You will be awakened to why exactly all of these things are going on, why you see the media constantly attack white males, why you see professors constantly attack white people, why you see your professors in your university saying having white children equals white supremacy, why you see these left-wing activists and journalists calling for direct violence against white kids, but they would not do that against the black Hebrew Israelites who said some pretty nasty things during some of those clips. It's because of the ethnic shift happening in this country, and it's massive ethnic shift, massive ethnic shift. Non-Hispanic white Americans in this country will be below 50% very, very soon within our lifetime. Now, this book, White Shift, I'm going to read a couple of lines from it, but you can look at the whole review that I did on this channel. I'll put the link in the description. It says, the progressive storyline for white majorities is a morality tale celebrating their demise, and as I hope to show, most of today's populist reaction stems directly or indirectly from this trope. White majority concern over immigration is the main cause of the rise of the populist right in the West. This is primarily explained by concern over identity, not economic threat. when whites were an overwhelming majority, empirically unsupported generalizations about whites could be brushed off as amusing and mischievous, but ultimately harmless. As whites decline, fewer are willing to abide by such attacks. Whites are very nice people. White Americans are very, very nice people, very nice to treat everyone as an individual. I certainly do. I have many friends of all sorts of different backgrounds until they're not nice. And that is a problem, especially when you push them into a corner, especially when you attack them, especially when you start tearing down statues, when you start talking about holidays are racist and we must change the holidays to Indigenous Peoples Day or whatever the case may be, and you directly attacked white Americans for slavery and everything else, when in fact we know, if you look throughout history, that the Arab Muslims participated in slavery for a lot longer than white Americans did, and are still doing it today. I mean, I've talked about this on this channel many times. There is a slave trade right now happening in Libya where they are castrating and enslaving black people, Arab Muslims. The Arab slave trade was deemed the African Holocaust for a reason. It was hundreds of years. It started hundreds of years before the transatlantic slave trade, and it's still going on today. But it was the white people who ended slavery and participated in it for a lot shorter of a period of time than the Arab Muslims did. But see, they won't attack those. It's just like with this. It's just like with the Hebrew Israelites, or whatever they call themselves. They won't attack them, but they will attack the transatlantic slave trade. They will attack white people. They will tell you that you need to pay reparations and that you're inherently racist and that having children is white supremacy. This is what the left will keep on saying, disregarding all other history, disregarding every other part about the story, all to shame and blame and get rid of white people.